Okay, so why the recording? Kasi hindi pala naka-on yung mic ko nung last conversation natin. But then again, that would not stop me from making another video, replay, replay na ibang papakita about this segment of what we're gonna do. We're now at part 3, methodology. Now, at this point on, dapat tapos na kayo with the introduction. And if we follow the standard format, from introduction, we move to review of related literature. But we're gonna skip ahead and do methodology first. Para most of the heavy lifting magagawa natin given our small time frame. And the Revlit naman, we could go back to that. And as I mentioned, when we've done methodology, we've got the results, we've writing it down in chapter 4. Sometimes we go back to literatures na ginamit natin sa Revlit, or sometimes we may not even encounter these literatures in the process of interpretation. Kaya para sa akin, mas maganda yung Revlit. Medyo huli na yun. Kumbaga, compile na lang natin lahat na matatagpuan nating sources na ginamit at kinailangan gamitin para sa kasunod. So, in this section, we'll discuss about methodology, research design, the paradigm and approach, dalawa yun, sampling scheme, research instruments, which will be continue in next week. So, ito lang muna tatlo. So, what is research design? So, by the term design, any design is a plan with deliberate choices and action to achieve an outcome. It contains your research paradigm, philosophy, and your approach strategy. So, a design, by design, hindi lang siya plano. And also, hindi lang siya course of action. A design contains both. Ano yung kailangan gawin at papaano gawin. So, i-describe natin yun sa methodology section, particularly in research design. We talk about the paradigm, the philosophy, the way of thinking about it, and the approach, the strategy. So again, with design, this is just an example. Are you trying to prove a truth or simply find a useful answer? Positivism and pragmatism are a type of philosophy. Okay, are you trying to prove a truth, meaning there's already a set of theories and you're just trying to find supporting evidence and context and situation that would help support the theory. When with that, kung may theory ka, you could either prove it or you could use it. And when you use it, you're being pragmatic. You're trying to look at situations where you could apply the theory towards something, a problem that you're trying to solve. Another one is, do you want to know how many people are happy? All right, you want to know the numbers, or you want to know what happiness means to one person, or maybe a collective of you. So this one is a type of research approach. Is your approach quantitative, using numbers, madami, or qualitative, using only a few, but very meaningful interpretative data? Are you trying to explain an answer, meaning there's already an answer that you're trying to expound, figure it out, perhaps a theory already that you're trying to elaborate more, or explore an answer within the theory? Are you trying to enhance the theory or try to see other relations with it? It's either concurrent or sequential. Concurrent meaning you're doing the research sabay, and you say concurrent, you're doing both quanti and quali at the same time, or sequential, quanti muna and then quali. Are you trying to reinvent the wheel or just see how it performs in different routes? Are you trying to improve on the theory or trying to see how the theory applies on different problems? Parang yung kanina lang, positivism and pragmatism. So, research paradigm is the philosophy. And when we talk about philosophy, it's a way of thinking about things. It's our truth. It's our mindset. Now, all of us have different mindsets. As an example is optimism versus pragmatism. Optimism versus ano ba opposite ng optimism versus ano ba yung negative, yung pagiging negative. Pessimism, yun. Optimism versus pessimism. Now, both you could say have their own relevant truth, pero hindi natin masasabi one is better than the other. It depends upon the person and his way of thinking. And we talk about way of thinking, is maraming circumstances dyan. Characteristics, situations, and all those things. So just like research, there are many characteristics, there are many criteria, there are many situations that you have to adjust your mindset. Your philosophy ka nga. The first philosophy is positivism. Reality is objective and can be measured. It focuses on quantifiable data, and it uses to test theories and establish cause and effect relationship. By positivism, you could say that the entire phenomenon can be explained, can be measured. You could assign numbers towards something. Okay, it can be binary, 1 or 0, or it could be many other assigned digits. Basta importante, there is a metric that can be applied, and anything that you can measure, you can describe, you can categorize, you can predict. So that's the way of how positivism works. It is commonly used in quantifiable data kasi nga measured. Interpretivism, kahit yung face-to-face nahihirapan ako dyan, assumes that reality is subjective and socially constructed. And when you say reality is socially constructed, it depends upon the experience of the person. Right? It focuses on understanding human experiences being unique, and we're using subjective data to interpret that. And of course, with the interpretation, maraming variables when it comes to that. Interpretation of the one being interpreted, interpretation of the interpreter. So take that into mind. Pragmatism just simply focuses on what works, the application. So again, it does not adhere to a single philosophy. It is the underlying philosophy for mixed methods and problem solving. So pag sinabi natin pragmatism, ang philosophy mo is how can I make these theories and the results that I found out into some sort of practical application. Okay? So keep those three philosophies in mind. Positivism, all right, that you could measure anything and you will measure anything. Interpretivism, that you may not know a lot, you may not know about the phenomenon, that's why you explore and interpret. In pragmatism, you try to find a solution for it. Yung activity natin, mabilis naman, philosophy, a study measuring the impact of specific online marketing customer buying. Pag measure automatically, that is already positivism. A study using surveys to measure client satisfaction and focus group to understand satisfaction levels to make a policy. When you say make, it's something that you're trying to create. That's automatically pragmatism. A study exploring how customers perceive and experience social aspects of peer-to-peer through interviews, exploring that's interpretivism. Right, so you could use this chart, okay? Screenshot nyo na lang if you're watching this, right? The type of paradigm, yung reasoning why to use it, and the goal, okay? So we move on to research approach. This is still part of research design. If you have your philosophy, the research approach is the strategy, and the strategy means the way you would act, okay, from a top-down approach behind the philosophy in answering. Basic strategy is quantitative approach. Quantitative approach, as mentioned, it uses numbers, a systematic investigation of phenomenon that relies on quantifiable data and statistical analysis to test hypotheses, establish cause and effect relationships. So most of you sa class ko, ito yung ginagawa natin, quantitative approach. Therefore, ang philosophy natin that usually uses numbers is positivism. So it coincides. Qualitative approach, exploring and understanding the meaning individuals or groups ascribe to a social or human problem. It uses to generate new theories and provide an in-depth rich description. This is mostly using qualitative. Diba? Qualitative kasi qualitative na nga pala siya. So it explores. Wala pa tayong benchmark, wala pa tayong tool na magagamit for that. That's why we try to explore. Okay? We try to ascribe something. We look at themes na common. Diba? From the interview that we do with samples, with respondents. And mixed method approach is both a quantity and a quali. Hindi na mabasa, I'll just say that it could be done sequentially, meaning you do a quantity first and a quali to explore, to explain, or you could do it concurrently. Pwedeng sabay in one survey interview. Okay? And again, with mixed method approach, usually the goal is to explore and explain. Usually, ang ending niyan is to create a solution for that. Pragmatic. Pasadahan natin to. Yep. Ayan, meron pala tayong chart. So, if your research approach is quantitative, more likely you're going to use survey, experimental correlational design, right? If it's qualitative, you're going to do in-depth interviews, case study, phenomenology, and ethnography, and mixed method, exploratory sequential, and concurrent triangulation. So you could research kung ano yung mga yan, pero let me briefly explain sa sample methods. Surveys, you use a survey, and every question in a survey corresponds to the variables you have in your conceptual map, and it's usually measured by a Likert scale, right? 1 to 7, 1 to 5, 1 to 3. So there are degrees to that. So you could assign a number to measure. Again, it is positivist, it is quantitative, experimental. And in experiment, you try to see if a treatment works. And how do you do that? You have a control group and an experimental group. A control group is you don't put in any treatment. An experimental group, you put in the treatment. For example, nag-provide tayo ng gamot that that increases IQ, di ba? Sa control group, wala tayong bibigay, placebo lang. Sa experimental group, we apply that treatment. And in the end, we measure if there are any changes from point A to point B. And again, anything that we measure, it is positivism, right? We try to establish something, and it is quantitative. Correlation, we simply see the relationship of variables. And again, ascribe by numbers. In-depth interviews, mahaba-habang interviews that you really try to explore. You see the common themes. Case study, you explore one unique case. And of course, a problem, if it's only one unique case, we cannot generalize. But it does provide a very insightful information on how the phenomenon works. Phenomenology, we try to explore on how phenomenons work by trying to write down kung ano nangyari on the phenomenon. What's an example of a phenomenon? A total eclipse, for example. We simply write down what happens on a total eclipse. And anything that's just writing is subjective. Anything that's subjective is qualitative. And anything that is qualitative is more likely to be interpretivism. Ethnography is as you put yourself in one culture at nag-observe ko lang. Kunyari, punta ka sa kultura ng mga Badyaw, for example, and you simply write down kung ano yung itsura ng kultura nila. Okay, we don't have to have brush on pragmatism, pero again, it's explanatory, meaning you're trying to explain something by using both quantity and quality, or you could be exploring, right? Exploring a theory, exploring an answer. Concurrent, that's another one. Now, we move on to sampling scheme. What are sampling scheme? These are the specific techniques for selecting a subset of individuals from a population to participate in a research study. Because then again, mahirap na kunin natin lahat ng samples in mga demographics. Pwede kung may time ka, pero good luck. So what we do? Oh yeah, so sampling is like trying to understand the entire beach, as I mentioned. And if you're trying to understand the entire beach, you could either analyze each grain. Pwede, depende. Kung isa-isahin mo yan, bilyones. Or will you grab a handful, okay, yung pinakamalapit sa'yo, and that is probability. Diba? Random. Then you investigate that handful that you grab. Or will you carefully pick out the most interesting grains? That is, iniisa-isa mo sila, non-probability. So as you could tell, in sampling, you could either sample everything, or you could use probability and non-probability as your sampling scheme. So let's go first to probability sampling. What is probability sampling? As the term probability denotes, it means involves random selection. You randomly select people. Ikaw na bahala how you do that. But there is random selection included, regardless of the demographics perhaps. Every member of a population has a known chance of being chosen. May statistics na paano that they will be chosen, right? It's not 100%. It has a certain chance. Kung dalawa lang kayo, there's a 50-50 chance that you might be chosen or not. It allows a researcher to generalize their finding to the larger population with a high degree of confidence. Why? Because biases are removed when you do random sampling. Random eh. Tinanggal mo yung biases mo, hindi ka namili. Okay? Again, these are usually the gold standards of quantitative research, but it doesn't mean na ito lang kailangan mo gawin, because sometimes it'll be hard. You have to justify the way you sample. So these are examples of how to do it. In simple random sample, it means you select each individual, right? Randomly select each individual kasi simple random sampling. Systematic sample, every individual in a list. For example, kada tatlo in a list, sila mapipili. So, kunyari, kada tatlo, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, sila yung mapipili by the thirds. Stratified sample is you group the population, and from the grouping that you made, kunyari male or female, from the male or female na grouping na ginawa mo, you randomly select people from that group. Cluster sample is you simply you randomly select the group, any group, and then within that group you select that entire group. So for example, we cluster groupings into age demographics, 18 to 25, 26 to 31, 32 to ganon, ganon. And if we do this type of cluster, we randomly select, for example, napili natin yung 18 to 21 by random, we pick all of the respondents in that group. Of course, if there's probability, there's non-probability sampling, meaning it involves non-random selection. You selected your demographics. Sample is chosen based on the researcher's criteria and convenience. Okay? Dahil may criteria na kailangan or convenient due to the lack of time. The goal is to gain an in-depth understanding of each specific group that you're trying to explore. Here's an example. Convenience sample. Oh, purposive sample. Handpicking individuals based on a specific purpose or criteria. And most of your research, ganito ginagawa natin. Purposive tayo kasi may mga criteria tayo na isinulat para sa ating research. Convenience sampling, yung pinakamalapit lang. You could either do online kung sino sasagot or yung tao na dumadaan na kaya mong i-ascribe sa yung sampling. Snowball sampling, you get participants, you get one to two, right? From the 1 to 2 that fits your criteria, sila na rin yung maghahanap ng tao that also fits your criteria. Sometimes these require some sort of incentive. Quota sample is that you just select a preset number of participants from different group. You cluster the group. Tapos within the group, kunwari, tatlo lang, we clustered male and female. Kunwari, tatlo lang pipiliin ko sa female, dalawa lang pipiliin ko sa male. So that in itself is some sort of a non-random selection. Now, between the two, mas madali gawin ng non-probability sampling. Pero may drawbacks kasi may biases kang ginagawa. And anytime that you introduce bias, nawawala yung generalizability. And that's something that we do in quantitative to make sure that every theory that we make, right, that we test, is generalizable, applied para sa lahat, or at the very least to a population na representative enough. Okay, we've done this. Skip ko na to. Okay, now move on forward to research instruments. Research instruments, well, these are the tools to collect data in a research study. Of course, you could use research instruments, but if you don't use instruments, you simply review other related literature, diba? And analyze for congruence or not. Diba? That is meta-analysis, but we're not gonna touch on that. We're gonna do quantitative as mentioned. Therefore, part of our instrument will be surveys that we survey to people. That fits our criteria kasi ang sampling natin is also purposive. So we do research instruments. It could be primary or perception. And when you say primary, ito yung experience, first-hand experience ng tao, right? As I mentioned in class, I fight. Primary experience is my feelings when I fight, when I do mixed martial arts. And perception, meaning how do I perceive other people? How do I perceive my students' experience in fighting? Just an example. So again, these are data that you could measure, okay, or you could use interview to interpret. It depends upon you. The point is you have a tool to measure something. These instruments are designed to measure or observe specific variables that will help answer your research questions, that uses scales or categorizes things. You use scales if it's quantity, you categorize things if it's quali. In quali, you transcribe yung mahaba-habang interview, and out of, let's say, 10 people that you interviewed, you try to find common themes. And within the common themes, ayun yung common that you try to create an explanation behind that. And from the explanation that you build, you may create a concept, a conceptual map, a theoretical framework ayon sa findings mo, and then you may be able to create some sort of theory. Mahaba-haba, pero we're not gonna touch on that. Right, the choice of research instrument depends on the research approach, the type of data you need to gather, either qualitative to explore or quantitative to explain. But this is very important, regardless of quant or quali, it must have these characteristics. Okay, validity, it has to be accurate, measuring what is supposed to measure. Okay, you're using an inch, right? And then hindi mo alam na mini-measure mo pala is cm. So it has to be accurate. A valid tool doesn't just measure, it measures the right thing, as I mentioned. All right, you have to make sure that if you're set in for inch, you're measuring inch, you're not measuring cm. A mark of a true instrument is that it finds the truth, not just a number. And by truth, meaning that it is objective. It is not just a certain number that is devoid of, that is prone of biases. Okay? More importantly, it measures what it intends to measure, as mentioned. A tool can be perfectly sharp but used as if it's cutting the wrong thing. Ibig sabihin, there is no absolute tool. Right? Doesn't mean that if your a jackhammer could pound things, doesn't mean it would be the same hammer that you use for your teeth. It depends upon the situation that the tool that you're gonna be using. So a tool may be perfectly sharp, but if the job requires pounding, you don't need to use a cutting instrument in pounding, ba? And vice versa. So again, validity is accuracy measuring what is supposed to be measured. Reliability is consistency, the same tool, same results every time. For example, if I use this knife, I know if I use this knife today, tomorrow, and the next few days, makakagupit pa rin siya. Right? Because it is consistent. Just like your tool, if you create a tool and a survey, you apply this survey to a certain group today, assuming that tomorrow you applied it to a different group, you will almost always get the same results, especially if the demographics are almost identical. So it is reliable, consistent. An inch should always be an inch regardless of who or where you are. Again, reliable. Kahit saan ka man mapunta, kung sino ka man, an inch will always be an inch. Without reliability, even a correct answer is just a happy assumption. Alright? So, chamba sa madaling salita. A reliable tool is the one that you could trust in the dark. Kahit nakapikit ka, alam mo itong ginawa mong instrumento na to will do the same thing that it did yesterday, the day after that, and the 3 days before that. Another one, characteristics of research instrument, credibility, trustworthiness sa madaling salita. Does the findings in the tool that you do represent the experience and perceptions of the people? Because again, the most profound thing in research is worth nothing without believability of its source. So sa madaling example, you need to test students, but you tested teachers, ba? Is it credible? No, it's not. Ba? Kasi ibang demographic yun eh. So you have to make sure that within credibility is that there is trustworthiness and there is consistency, there is alignment with those things. Findings that are authentic will speak for themselves, right? Okay, if you look at other literature, for example, ayon sa iyong interpretation ng iyong finding, they would speak for themselves. If you, again, survey students, you would also find that other researchers who survey students may have almost the same answer as you kasi it's credible. Now, to the types of research instrument, pag quantitative, we use survey questionnaires, test assessments, or observation checklists, and all of these have something, have a measure that you have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, you assign a number to a certain value, a certain phenomenon. Qualitative, again, these uses words that you transcribe, interview guides, observation protocols that ikaw yung nag-mention, document analysis. And in the middle, mixed methods, integrated questionnaires, single survey methods with both multiple choice, mga yan, and all those things. And for our research, since it is quantitative, more likely you would be using surveys and survey questionnaires, right? Right, so it's done. Don't forget to follow the format. Make sure to paraphrase, write in text citations every piece of information, write AP 7 references, area 12, double space, 1.5 inches to the left, rest is 1 inch, and don't forget to rehydrate and pray. In our next meeting, we're gonna talk about how to analyze data, how to how to distribute your survey questionnaires, and a little bit on research methods again. Thank you, class, and goodbye.